Football Manager 2024 is out soon, but I've already got it. But don't worry, because in today's video, I'm going to let you know everything that is new with the new game, and I'm going to try and do so in less than 10 minutes. So, I guess, start the clock. Oh, I've actually got to do that myself. One sec, just start the clock. Let's start with a big new feature for this year, and that is the improvement, the development of the match engine, something we are always asking for. And this year, the team at SI have gone very big on reworking the positional play and rotation of your players on the pitch. And let me quote you something here. This is how they explain it. It says, in summary, these positional rotations mean that your players now behave more intelligently, adjusting their position based on the roles and movement of teammates around them. Sounds good, that, doesn't it? And it's true, because I've been playing with this midfield in a little Brighton save that I've had going. And the midfield three are like the red arrows at your local county show. The blue and white arrows. They interact completely differently, pushing into positions and covering one another. And it makes for a really warm, fuzzy feeling when they seem to be doing what you want them to in game. It's nice. There's a new role, the inverted fullback, and they've made tweaks to the libero and the inverted wingback. Staying in this general area of improvements to the match engine, they've also made massive improvements to the matchday experience. The lighting of the stadiums has been improved. It looks infinitely better, as well as the pitch textures. And I know how much all of you love your pitch textures, don't you? Additionally, the physics of the ball have been improved. And in my experience, it seems heavier, more akin to real life, more realistic for sure. And also, the effect that weather has on your stadiums, on your match days, is way more pronounced in this year's game, which I think is another nice new... It makes it more realistic, and that's what we want, right? Okay, flying through these. Hopefully you're keeping up so far. Next up, outside of the match day experience, there's been lots of improvements also made to the world of transfers, which, as you all know, is my favourite world. SI have brought in intermediaries, staff that can help you to facilitate a transfer, with the better ones costing you more money and the cheaper ones being, I assume, like asking Steve from down the pub to help you sell Evan Ferguson. Selling players in general has changed too. You'll no longer be able to simply offer to clubs and then send out an imaginary email that goes to every single club in the world. Not now. Now it's a little bit more realistic, and you'll advertise a player's availability on Transfer Room, which is a digital marketplace for players based on the tool used by real life clubs. It's a bit like Tinder for footballers, maybe. The way that we interact with agents has changed, and even the way that a player's transfer interest is listed has changed from last year to this. Gone is the major and minor interest, and it's been replaced with active or rumoured interest. Staying in Transferland, again, it's my favourite land, FM24 will see the development of more transfer battles. By that, SI mean that the AI will recruit smarter and will use the potential ability of a player to buy backup players for the future, rather than just trying to sign the best players now. The way the board control your transfer budget has also been tweaked, with more flexibility given based on how you are performing against the board's targets. If you're overachieving, you might get more money, and if you're underachieving, well, your budget might get cut. You'll even be able to be given a negative transfer budget, meaning you'll have to sell players to accumulate that money to go and then spend it. I mean, that is terrifying for me, but fantastic for the realism of the game. Continuing to talk money, there are now new and dynamic income streams, such as sponsorship deals, TV deals, and news items, all linked to your club's reputation. And on the flip side, financial fair play is more of a factor than ever before, with new sanctions in place. And also there are changes to administration, and a club may also lock your wage budget if you're close to overdoing it. Which again, terrifying for me. We can now expect to have better conversations when talking to our players. I'm hoping that there's a big improvement in this, because often the logic applied by your players was sometimes lacking. But with over 2,000 extra AI responses, it seems like this might be the case. When talking to your players, you can now incentivize their performances with individual targets based on training improvements, goals, assists, clean sheets, match performances. And I quite like the idea of when you've got a player going out on loan, you can say to them, if you score X number of goals, you'll be in the first team squad next season. I think it's a nice little addition, this one. And you can now also further customize staff meetings, which is great because I know how much you guys love coming home from work to go to your fictional staff meetings on your favorite video game. a big one next, and one that we've been asking for, what, 84 years?
It's been 84 years.
Set pieces have been overhauled. Not only do we have a completely new screen flow for your set pieces, where you're asked about your philosophy, zonal or man marking, before a routine is set up for you, you also have the ability to hire a designated set pieces coach for the first time. Your playing staff will automatically be assigned to roles within your set pieces based on their abilities and their attributes. And you'll even be able to select whether you want to be hands-on or hands-off when it comes to responsibility for your set pieces in-game. There's also way more that you can do with throw-ins now, and you'll be provided with better insight into your opponent's set piece setups in the lead up to games against them. And to be honest, this screen is particularly cool because if they're a sub, look at them, they wear a bib. Look at those lovely little bibs. When playing through as well, I did notice an extra feature that's kind of hidden in the new set pieces, which is the ability to have multiple set piece routines. So here's my corner set pieces. I can add a second set piece look. So let's go near post outswinger, and you can set up how frequent they rotate between these different routines. So I could say that I want the near post routine to be more often, the outswinger to be average often, or maybe less often, but they will rotate between these automatically in the game. Really nifty, really neat. I'm loving these new set pieces. A set piece overhaul that seems really, honestly intuitive and reflective of the real world. Fair play, right? It looks good. But wait, does this mean my 6'6" centre-back isn't going to score 25 goals this year? Another big new feature, and one that I'm really impressed with, is the new options you are provided with when you start a brand new game. For FM24, you'll be provided with 3 options, the first of which is original, same as any other time you've started any other Football Manager game. But then you've got real world, which is where the transfers that have taken place in real life will happen in the game, but they'll happen on the dates that they actually went through in real life. So when you start a new game and you know that team sold a player, the player will be sold on that actual date, which is a nice touch of realism, and I'm all about the realism. The final game mode is called Your World, and this is where all of the real life transfers for this season are undone, and you'll make your own game world with all of your own transfers that happen in this summer window that we've just had. International management improvements, I hear you call, and well, there have been some. The national pool has been improved and tweaked and now offers way more insight for international managers. Would be cool to have a bit more training here, but do you know what? Steps in the right direction. One of last year's new features, the squad planner, has been developed further for this year's game and will now include new icons and new squad graphics. And the final new big feature is that of the J-League, which will now officially be in Football Manager. So those are the new big features, but there's also tons of pretty neat quality of life improvements too. So I'm going to do these quick fire to try and get them all out before my time runs out. We've got better fixture scheduling, less congestion. You can now see attribute changes for staff. Again, this is one that I didn't even realize I always have wanted, but I guess I've always wanted this. I like this one. The previous season's code of conduct is now the default for each season, so you don't have to go back and change it again. Lovely little quality of life improvement, that. There is now more information about your youth system and how it ranks relating to your youth system board objectives that you're given. You can now check your head-to-head record versus rivals. There's loads of new accessibility improvements, such as font description, epilepsy warnings, and slider improvements. There's a new tab in training about match prep. You get more feedback on your pre-match team talks now. You can now select players to add to a swap deal from a drop-down menu instead of having to go to a completely new screen. You can now get an overview of all of the managers in a particular competition. And there are more stats tracking league titles. There's also a whole host of improvements being made to draft mode. The dynamic manager timeline now has a whole host of new events that will pop up on it. And then there's loads of new options when creating a manager, such as you can wear shorts and have nice badges that say Football Manager. The face creation tool is now better, although I did somehow still create this monstrosity. But a really cool addition in this area, in an inclusive sense, is the ability for your in-game manager to wear a hearing aid. Really nice touch, I like it. Oh, and finally also, Football Manager 2024 should run faster than Football Manager 2023. But is it faster than I've just listed all of those new features? I would suggest not. Add all of this to the fact that you'll now also be able to transfer your save files over from FM23 to FM24. And I think you can call me suitably excited. I hope you guys are too. And what's that? Just in time. Oh, and finally, last but not least, you can now put face paint on your manager.